That's the last he told me, so.
Up and running this morning.
Well, it's 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. First thing up is the agenda.
I would like to add an update from AVI. I talked to the guy yesterday.
Okay, we'll put that under other business. Anything else? If not, can we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Wayne,
I'll vote aye.
Marv,
Aye.
Merlin,
Aye.
Dwight,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion is carried. Approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2019 meeting.
Chairman, I'd like to have those minutes include what was discussed by Treasurer Berger, please. As it says, Treasurer Berger updated the board with financial reports. And no further action was taken, and there actually was. I wrote it down someplace, let's see if I can find it.
There was even a motion made, for that matter. These minutes, to me, are pathetic.
Okay, anyhow, we're gonna cover that. Dwight, is it all right if we cover your comment after I get on with mine?
Yep.
Okay. Anyhow, it says no action was taken. Actually, there was some action taken. But I'd like it to be part of the record that the treasurer gave the second notice to the commissioners. Money would have to be transferred from a reserve account to our operating checking account to cover 2019 expenses. This request was for $200,000. I would like that to be added as a record to the minutes. It's not an addition, that's what she actually asked for. It just wasn't recorded.
You got that, Gwen, or?
I can give you a copy of that, Gwen. You can,
Trying to find where, I'm looking back in notes from Shanna here to see where Darby had come in.
Was a motion made on that?
Oh, I thought there was.
I don't see anything in here.
No motion made?
From the
I
Bank
don't
of North?
believe there was a motion.
no,
Oh,
no, motion wasn't required to my recollection.
Okay.
But regardless of the motion, this was stated to the commission, and I want it part of the minutes. And I move that this be added to the minutes. Right after Treasurer Berger updated the board with financial reports to add this information which was presented to us. To include, not add, to include this information that was presented to us. And I can give you a copy of what I said if you want me, so you don't have to. And I'll read it again. Treasurer gave second notice to commissioners, money would need to be transferred from a reserve account to our operating checking account to cover 2019 expenses. $200,000 was needed.
Now, my only question is, I'm looking at this AG's opinion.
Don't care.
It did,
Accurate minutes. It said it 7 times in that opinion.
it has to be included if it was stated.
It's not an error.
It was omitted. As a commissioner, I want that requested. It's not a question for anybody but the commissioners. We have a right to record our minutes as stated. They are not to be edited or censored.
And I do have some information for you folks. That thing right over there is permissible in court. I talked to a lawyer 2 days ago.
But the agenda,
What that thing comes, when that records, what is said. My recorder right there.
oh, that,
That is admissible in court.
We have a motion on the floor. I need a second, please.
I'll second it.
any more discussion on that? Any more discussion? Marv, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dwight?
Aye.
Wayne?
I vote aye.
Merlin?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion is carried.
I need a motion on the minutes. right?
Yes, now we need a motion on the, to approve the minutes as amended.
I so move, Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second that, Mr. Chairman.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Marv, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne?
I vote aye.
Dwight?
Aye.
Merlin?
Aye.
And I vote aye, motion is carried. Now I have to read,
When do you have a sign-in sheet by any chance?
Yeah, it should be back there.
Okay.
next up is the review of the
I'll get
bills.
it. Go ahead.
All right, that's one for,
Marv. Marv. Me too. Pardon me? We, that's,
That's not even on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was.
No.
Please.
You're a guest.
I thought it was, I apologize.
No, just your name, please.
you just leave it there in case somebody else comes in, please. Put it on the back bench, if you would. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for doing this work for me, too. I was looking forward to it.
Agenda's up there on this one.
Yeah. Please.
Nice meeting you.
All right,
You bet.
thank you.
Is this $3,000 from this Calio or whatever for the sheriff's department? It's wire for investigations task force, is that something new? I do believe that's over the $500.
$500 is for the purchase order, and they did get a purchase order for it.
They did, it's not on here.
Should,
Oh, here it is, I'm sorry, pages were stuck together, just the claim voucher. Is that something new, or?
I'm not sure. It's for the task force is what I was told.
I just don't understand why we can't know about stuff like that.
Oh, I was looking at this, I was going, holy, no, that's the top page, it's got totals, shows the treasurer and the janitor.
Right.
I was just looking, the first thing I saw was $53, and I thought it was one bill.
Oh, no, it's the total of all the bills.
Yeah. But
There's no purchase order, oh, it is $500.
catchy name, huh? What's Calio?
Good question,
That's just what he asked.
sure would be nice to know.
It's a company that they ordered some, these are like security wires or something for the task force.
Mm-hmm.
It was a new vendor for us.
When we got a bill here from Caterpillar or Butler and says amount due is 20,008 something.
That's just the statement,
Oh,
and I got the statement late, but
29.
those other bills had all been paid.
Isn't
Oh.
that for the other half of that more?
There's,
well, there,
well, that, right, that might be for the other part of that mower, but that's not coming out until 2020.
Right,
yeah,
right.
but yeah, I was just wanting to clarify because it only showed $500 and some dollars worth of parts
Oh,
that this bill was.
sure.
Yeah.
Every department head in the building can come in and talk about stuff like that but one. But he's cooperating. I don't understand this one at all. On the claim voucher, it's $53, but here on the bill, it's like $452.
Are you talking the wax bill?
Yeah,
Okay. Jim is using the wax card now since the, gas station closed here in Stanton. He's using a wax card, which goes on to the sheriff's office bill. So his portion is just that small amount, that 53, and the rest is on the next bill for the sheriff's office.
yeah.
Cause we used to get
Corner Express. Well, $452 worth of gas for a sheriff we never see. Randy Byron was at 12. For Scoria, just tell it. Scoria is worth its weight in gold. Yeah, I tried to buy some this fall for Randy.
Oh. Okay, makes sense.
It's unbelievable what that oil patch did to our Scoria prices. Unbelievable.
Question for you here on this, Code 2 K-9 services for $500. Apparently they had to pay registration in advance, right? Did the registration have to be paid this far in advance, do you know? And the reason I'm asking is because we're paying for 2020 training in 2019. It's just, you know, it's a year difference, and we're taking 2019 revenue to pay for 2020 expenses, and typically you try not to do that, right?
I don't, I mean, we're paying some memberships for 2020 under this budget,
Just like that.
so that's, I never questioned it.
No, I
Yes.
understand it.
I don't know that I need to either, it just, it's little, it just, I'm not gonna question that any more than that, but I'll just keep it in the back of my mind. These,
I thought we didn't have a K-9 unit.
well, there's K-9 training for $500 there. And it's for 2020, March of 2020, but we're paying it in 2019. And as an accounting deal, typically you try to match expenses with the revenue in the same year. I might, would it be okay if I could get a copy of that, if you would, please? I appreciate it, thank
Do
you.
you want to talk to them about it?
I might. I do have a phone call in with the sheriff and, to look at his stuff, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet, but I'll bring it up then.
I don't know if it's K-9, because it says World Patrol Tactics.
No,
Front
I
it
don't know
says
if it's really-
K-9.
that's why I wanna visit with him about it,
Okay.
and, it might be the officers' training, if they have a K-9 unit or something, but I'll let him explain it. You know, it's only fair. This one's cute. We bought 144 golf pencils.
I've seen that too, but I wasn't quite sure what that was.
It's kinda cute. We bought golf pencils.
Oh.
Mercer
I bet
County
it's
Jail.
those little-
They're those little pencils.
I bet it's those little pencils
Yep, that's what it says right here, Mercer County Jail, I saw that, it's just kinda cute that we buy a golf pencil. You noticed that one too, huh, Gwen? Yeah, that's kinda cute. 20-amp fuse. Oh, no big deal. Looked like an accident, but it was just a blown tire. There were a lot of vehicles in the ditch the last week between here and Bismarck.
One Friday.
I think it was Wednesday was the worst one, it might have been Thursday. But yesterday we went down and there was a pickup in the ditch. It was still right side up. It had buckled in the middle, so the back in the front, and the axle was sitting behind it. With the tires on it.
I went down Friday and I didn't have any problems.
What are the county trust payments?
That's when people prepay for taxes, and we just hold it in the trust fund for them.
Got it. Yeah, I just talked to the tax commissioner yesterday about that. Not too many people do that. Makes sense. I see some other dues were also paid. So it just makes sense. I'm just curious. If they have to do it that far in advance, kudos to them for making sure it got done, huh? I would have missed it. Got them all?
Yep, I think so. Well, I don't know if there were any, but have a motion to approve the treasurer bills.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion on that? Merlin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne,
How about aye?
Marv,
Aye.
and I vote aye, motion is carried. We have a motion to approve the regular bills.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Marv, how do you vote?
Aye.
Merlin,
Aye.
Dwight,
No.
Wayne,
How about aye?
I'll vote aye, motion is carried.
I'm not approving any more big bills that come in if they can't come in and talk to us about them first.
Okay. Close enough to 9:30. Next up is the Glenellen Energy Center.
Okay, this is for zoning case 191101. It's an application from Glenallen Energy LLC for approval of a conditional use for a wind farm facility within the agricultural zone of Mercer County zoning district map. The subject parcel is 23.4 acres and is located approximately 18 miles south and 3 miles west of Beulah and is described as section 33, township 141, range 88 of the 5th principal meridian, Mercer County, North Dakota. Elite Clean Energy, when it was under Elite Clean Energy originally, and they intended to put section 33 on the application under case 180601, but it was not. It was accidentally left off. So they're here if you have any questions for them.
I have a question for you, Cindy. I was at the planning and zoning, and we did approve these. The question I have is, it's an afterthought, and I didn't think of it at the time. Should this have been a completely separate application?
It was a separate application. That's why I had it under the different zoning. And I tried to explain that there, but then you guys approved it under the old number. You know, it was a separate application to add it to, it originally started out as an application just for section 33. That's why I had it under that separate number.
Okay,
But then you guys approved it to add it to that 180601.
well, that was because that was the second item on our agenda, that they wanted to add it to that.
No, the second item was to change their name on the 180601, from Elite to Glen Ellen.
So, we had an application from Elite, right?
Mm-hmm,
Originally, it was incorrect, but we had one, and we approved that,
right?
correct? And then Elite asked that we transfer that to Glen Ellen Energy
Right,
and include section 33,
right,
is that correct?
right, and, because it was omitted the first time.
Correct. So Elite applied for an application and it was accepted. And now Glen Ellen Energy LLC, did they submit a completely new application with the correct section number in it?
Yes, that's the 191102. Well, they did a 191101 and 191102.
Right. But it was a completely new application,
Right,
or request, I should say.
yes. Well, it was an actual application.
Was it the same permit then?
Well, I put it on the same permit and just have it on here that it was updated to add the omitted.
Okay, I probably used the wrong wording when I first started my questions today. Should this have been a separate permit? In my afterthought,
There is a separate permit.
so we have a permit application from LLE,
From
or
Glen
Elite, I mean. And now, do we have a separate permit application from Glen Ellen?
Yes.
And they're different permit numbers?
Well, I originally had it under different permit numbers, but you guys made it sound like I was supposed to just add it to the 180601, so that's what I did.
Yeah, there was some confusion there, and part of the confusion was my own, and that's why I'm bringing up these questions. After I got home, and you think about this a little bit deeper, and all of a sudden it's like, well, just a second here, we have to have a clean record of each permit.
I mean, I can sure go back and rewrite it under the new permit number and then just change the Elite one to Glen Ellen that you guys approved for that.
Okay,
And write this up as a separate one, because there was a separate application, and that's the zoning case that you heard. All I'd have to do is go type it up under that zoning case.
Mr. Chairman, I would think that'd be the cleaner and the better way to go about it. wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, then somebody afterwards picks up this application, it's a brand-new application, it's just as clear as can be.
But the one problem with doing that is their original one, they only last for 4 years, so they're gonna have to come back and do all the other sections way before they're gonna have to do this one, section 33 is the only thing, when they were asking just to add it back on to this.
they were asking to add it back on, but underneath a different title. One was Elite and the other one was Glen Ellen. Chairman, I move that we send this request back to the planning and zoning and have it looked at to clean up the application permit process.
Well,
Well, you guys,
or we could do it here too, as far as that goes. I mean,
If I don't get a second, then we'll move on and someone else can make that motion too. That's fine. I agree. Whatever works the best.
it wouldn't have to go back.
Well, we have a motion to send it back to planning and zoning. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on that?
Yeah, when I read what was going on with this, I have to look back at every one of our non-farm residences. If they would come to planning and zoning and say, hey, we want to add an acre, we want to take an acre away, what kind of a consideration would they get? Without making a completely new application for that.
They did make a completely new application. That's the case number 191102 and 191101. Their 191101 actually is the one to add or do section 33. There was a whole new application, and I tried to explain
Just on that section.
I know, but.
just for that.
Okay, I agree, and I think the error lied, and I'll take the responsibility, because for my error at the planning and zoning is that I should have asked that we had a complete new permit number, and you originally had it that way, but now you're saying that we put it back to Elite's permit number.
Well, but you guys right now could approve it under the, I mean, that was just their recommendation. You can approve it under the 191101, so they don't have to come back and, I mean, really, it's just a matter of what, you're not liking that, you don't want it on the same 180601.
Correct.
Well, that's easy enough. I can go change it to the 191101 if you guys approve it that way.
Okay,
For
is there-
just section 33.
Should there be any additional fees then, if it's a completely new permit, or were there,
They paid the,
paid
they
them
are, they
already.
did that. It was like $1,600.
for the first permit, for
No,
Elite?
for this one.
Okay,
That's the 191101. That's why it was under that number, not the 1806.
that would, okay, that would clean it up, right? We got our fees correct, so we can go back and see that that was all done properly.
Right.
So, we have 1911-01 on the agenda, Glen Ellen Energy Permit. What number should that be if it was done the way you originally requested?
That would be the 191101. You guys switched it over to the 1806.
Okay,
The 191101 is the new one that I just got with the new fees of the $1,600 or whatever it was, just to add in the omitted 33, because they're basically using it already. It just was omitted from their first application. They're just really doing it to clean up, to come back into compliance.
okay.
But I can go and change this zone approval letter to the 191101 that I tried to, that I tried to say at the meeting that,
Okay, we have a motion to
Okay,
send it back to the planning and zoning. Marv, how do you vote?
aye.
Dwight?
Aye.
Wayne?
I vote nay.
Merlin?
Nay.
And I vote no. Okay, do we have another motion here to approve this as when described?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve zoning case 1101, or 1911-01 for the 23 acres on section 33, 141-88.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion on this?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we're accurate. I agree with Wayne's motion. He said 23 acres, I think it's actually 24.3.
no, 23.4 I have on here.
Okay,
Okay,
just so we were accurate.
okay.
Okay. I wrote it down wrong when you said it the first time. That's all I was asking.
Wayne, how do you vote?
I'll vote aye.
Merlin?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Dwight?
No.
And I vote aye. Motion is carried. Okay. We'll take a 5-minute recess here. Steve?
Line, half it's in town, half it's on the county side line. The road is shot, it's been shot for several years. We've been patching it up with gravel as we can, and we're looking for, see what abilities the county would have in assisting us, and working on this road. Everything's pretty preliminary, we've got, 4 bids back in on, rough bids that the engineer hasn't sent them the specs yet. So they all sent us the Cadillac bid for large amounts of money, $400,000 basic was a basic bid for that 3 blocks, and 6 of that project would be this block, so, $100,000 probably. And, we're trying to get the city council, I'm the street docket holder since last July for Big City, I'm a Big City council member, and we're trying to get the council to approve the engineer do an engineering study and give us recommendations, how much we need to shave out, holes to fill, how much we need. That hasn't been done yet, so all these bids are preliminary, just something to give us an idea where we're gonna be at eventually. And that's all bid the capital package, to make sure they covered their bases, you know. So I guess what we're asking is that, adjacent landowners, Delton Reinhardt, and he's farmland. And there's no residences on the west side of that Fourth Lake Southwest, only residences on the east side. And so, you see, I got the deed document numbers there, if you wanna look, and we can determine how much that street's in the city. Basically 16, it's a 32-foot wide street, 810 feet long, and 16 feet is on the county side of the line. It was approved in September of 1980 by the county commission to pave those roads in Big City. So, I don't have anything solid for you guys, but maybe just to drop the bug in your ear a little bit, you know, that we'd like some assistance down the road. I talked to Ken Miller, he says he doesn't remember working with cities to pave, you know, in his time as road super, so. I also talked to Ken about some road maintenance tar cracks, and he said they don't do that on the side anymore either, because they're just too busy with what they've got going on, so. I also have Mr. Tyrone Kittleson, he's a landowner in Pixie. Anything else, Tyrone?
We were before the county commission back in 2013, asking for help. And I think we have some problems with, a couple of people on the city council letting one of the county commissioners know that we didn't want it to be paid, but we have it, 80% of people in the Southwest Division sign a petition that, they wanted it repaid.
Kind of the reason I called to get on your docket today on the agenda was that Tyrone's gonna snowbird out here shortly, so he's kind of my expert on that street. And so we just wanted to get down here before he's gone for the winter and just let you know where we're headed. We have a lot of division within our own city council on this whole project, and that's why we're really preliminary on this. Nothing's smoothed out, there's a lot of bumps on the roads,
Okay.
literally and figuratively.
Can I safely assume that this street is completely within city limits?
Oh,
Oh, with 16 feet.
City limits run down
Right down the center of the street?
right down the center of the street.
Okay, thanks.
now, I was on a commission when this was brought here. This road only serves the residents that live there, right?
No,
It goes to the dump.
goes to the dump, and for years now, we've got the guys that farm there, L-lines. They don't bring their trucks down there anymore. They used to haul grain on this road, and of course, the paving was fair, but it probably wasn't the best job originally. It was paved in the 80s, so this is 38-year-old pavement, you know. So we've kept grain trucks off for about 10 years, and they go, there's an approach a quarter mile off the highway, they go in with their grain trucks, but we still have school bus, and of course, the garbage truck's just terrible and hard on that road. And then, it services the city of Pick City and about, probably 200 cabin sites that use our dump. Our dump is open to the cabin sites. On Wednesdays and Saturdays.
The only thing south of there is a dump.
No, there's also, TJ Hannah has built a bee apiary down there. And, south of, on the west, on the east side of Fourth Lane Southwest, south of First Road Southwest, TJ Hannah has built a, steel shed. He's processing honey there. He's got an apiary. And then there are, residences on the Dyke Addition on the south side of First Road Southwest that are also east of Fourth Lane Southwest.
They're in the city limits.
Yep, the Dyke Addition is an addition to Big City. TJ Hannah is agricultural. He is not annexed in.
Okay.
Where are the gates across the road? I was told this section line is gated off.
That section line is just fenced across down against Richter's and Borman's pasture.
And
It goes
that's,
down to Giant Coulee, there's no
that's
road.
south,
Yeah.
south of all
Yeah.
of this yet.
Yep.
Okay.
The trail end is just adjacent to our dump gate. We go into
Yeah, I
the city
realize
land- city land
it's not a through section line. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
No, but it does go to TJ's place and,
Yeah, I realize that, but beyond that, it's,
right,
Dead end.
that portion down by the dump course is dirt, Dwight.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's only that first 800 feet,
So
that's asphalt.
are you folks thinking of repaving this or making it gravel?
We wanna repave it, one way or the other. We've looked at, milling and grinding 12 inches, 4 inches, 8 inches, and using that reclaimed asphalt we bought from Mayo Construction last year. Something like that, or just, actually truly paving it with 4 inches of asphalt in a 12-foot base, for 12-inch base. We're looking at all options right now. Until our engineer tells us what we have to do, we don't know how good our compaction is, what the road base is, without doing that testing. We haven't tested our sewer, we haven't scoped our sewer pipes yet either, so before you do your road, you make sure your sewer pipes are good. And again, my city engineer, Moore Engineering is our engineering firm, and he said, there is some, possibly, if we have sewer issues, we possibly get some grant to help replace an 8-foot swipe over your sewer pipes.
Well, that's,
Well, I think under that prairie dog, bill, that was the intent of that bill is so that you could get your infrastructure, sewers and waters up on, and pump stations up to date, yes. That sound right?
Yep, and we'll try to get our city commission to
Apply for,
apply some of those periodic funds, because it has to be a named project, so it can be named Fourth Lane Southwest
yep.
Road Improvement Project.
Oh,
So it'll be a named project.
There's sewer and water lines in this road?
Yes. On the city's half.
No, I mean, I was here when the city, whoever came at that time, and I'm not quite sure, but I think we had our county engineers take a look at this and did a
I think you-
calculation as to what this would cost, and what needed to be done to overlay, to put new pavement there. It was quite expensive.
Yeah. Like I said, the preliminary estimates we got for, the cheapest, the least expensive method would be grinding it down 1.5 inches and grinding deeper by the curbs and laying a fabric down and doing 1.5 inch lay over that, and that's at $100,000. But that probably won't hold the garbage truck.
No, it's
Well,
just-
yeah, if your base is below that they're very likely wanting to get a class 5 or a class 13 underneath that, or you'll put this on and within a few months, you got a sag going on or a water hole,
That's kind of why they're stammering a little bit like a.
Is there curb and
We have curb and gutter that we'd like to save. The curb
On-
and gutter is good.
on both
On
sides?
both sides, then?
Yep, the gutter on the, curb gutter and sidewalk on the resident side, curb and gutter on the ag side.
I think so.
So this is a heads up, and
Yeah, that's
you're
fine.
gonna go back to your city and get back to us then, right? Okay,
Yeah, we have to get our engineer, you just can't hire somebody blindside with,
So-
and put down a 12-inch concrete mixed base, which is exorbitant when you don't necessarily
Yeah.
need it.
And where,
Also, you can check out the water and sewer lines.
we've approved our budget for next year, so it's out, it would be out for, not discussion for next year at
It'll
all.
be out till 21 at least, huh?
Well, I would say so, but if there's any requests and you finalize what you need to do, you need to come to the county commission probably in June of next year to try and do something for the
By then,
following year.
more engineers should have some stuff for us, but my city commission to approve me to spend money on this, to even research it, so we got some internal battles to fight here too, but, all right, thank you
Okay.
for your time.
okay, thank you.
That'll be fine.
Carmen, you're up next.
Okay, I'm here, we need to make a decision on that DAPL donation, of what you guys wanna do with it. If you don't wanna give to the sheriff, The other thing we could do is, give it to the responders. It would go equal shares like we did last year, and, we'd give it to all the different fire departments in the ambulance, and it would be split up equally.
I thought last meeting or whenever we decided to go with the sheriff, wasn't that approved?
No,
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 Okay,
it was deposited in a fund until we decided
Right,
what we
and
were
it's
gonna
been-
do with it.
yep. So I deposited in the EM Homeland Security Grant Fund.
Sure.
So now what I need to do is get your approval. If you don't wanna give to the sheriff, then I need to give it, because this donation was given to the county for the emergency responders.
I
No.
think there's more to that than just the emergent. If you read the donation, it says more than just emergency responders.
okay,
And
Did- Okay, I got a kind of a question. Is these funds ear tagged for specific, like the purchase of equipment, or is it, Carmen, as, operational process or procedures that you have to do
Okay.
your normal,
here is what they said.
okay?
The donation from the Dakota Pipeline is written deposit to any first responder emergency response-based account of your choosing. It can go to any appropriate account, including not limited to, and they're talking responder and emergency response-based account, in the county, LEPC, emergency medical, fire, sheriff. If you-
And what's the
that's-
rest of it?
That's what's in.
There's more to it. It says more than that. It says in there that the county can put it to any use that they think they deem necessary.
Okay, but that's what it says, to any first responder emergency response-based account of your choosing within the county, LEPC, EMA, fire, sheriff, and so on. But you're the commission. If you wanna take it, you can do what you want. All I'm asking is, I need a decision, because, you know,
I agree.
you wanna give
Yeah.
it to the sheriff, we have to make sure that that gets paid out before the end of the year. That's my concern. If you wanna give it, put it in your general fund, then good, then I don't have any work to do, and you can do what you want. This is your decision. All I need is a decision, and I really don't care what you
well, if I
decide.
remember right, the sheriff last year didn't take any of that money, did
No,
he?
they did not. It went out to the ambulance and the fire
Right.
departments equally divided.
Okay, Carmen, I'll speak for myself. It isn't, and I'm just speaking for Marv, it isn't that I don't want to give it to the emergency responders or the sheriff or any of those great services that our county receives. My question that I have is, what were the costs for Mercer County for our assistance regarding that pipeline when it occurred?
Okay, that information will come from your auditor.
Okay,
That is, I have no idea. I'm the emergency manager. They just want to flow through the emergency management to give this money to the county.
okay,
And whatever you guys decide,
Okay.
I just need a decision.
okay.
Well, it appears that I'm not sure, but that their intent was to upgrade your emergency responding,
I don't think it's to upgrade, I think it's to support.
well, that would be a better word.
I think that's
Be-
what they want to do. They're giving
Yeah.
this so that they are supporting the emergency responders in
Because,
the areas where their pipeline is.
yeah,
Did we get a copy of that? I know it says more on there than what you're giving
Okay,
us, Carmen.
and, well, I gave the treasurer, when I gave it, the check to the treasurer, I gave her everything, but no, you guys need to get a copy of,
Well,
but it's okay. If you guys wanna keep it, keep it. I
well, it
really,
says it in there.
your decision, you're the commission, whatever you go by, I got no qualms.
Okay.
Got nothing. I just need a decision so we can move forward, and I know what I need to do based on your decision.
Okay, to move this forward and discussion, Chairman, I make a motion that these funds remain in our general fund at this time.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, but it will be ear tagged in the general fund, so doesn't just disappear. If you wanna make your motion clearer,
Your tag throw, how do you,
we'll decide how to spend it. Not the auditor.
is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to, I do not want to add any tags to this. I want to put into the general fund. We do have a budget at this time. These monies should not be spent for any other purpose. Next year, we can amend our budget and decide what to do with this monies, but at this time, it should stay in the general fund. And if we see a need, we can
Hang
use
on a
it for some of these emergency services that we receive.
No, just to help out here, Marv, this had to be, did I catch this? This has to be spent out by the end of this year?
Well, that is what your auditor said last meeting.
It had to be spent?
That is what she
I
requested.
thought that's what I caught.
That is what she requested.
Do you know
And
anything,
that's-
I'm sorry.
And that's kind of, like, maybe it was the same way last time, but that, we went with emergency, like fire departments and this, and we split it out, and that way
Basically, we just ran it through
ran it
my
to,
grant account and got it out.
got it out to them departments, and they could do with it what,
Yeah,
they
and then
see-
it's up to the fire department to
Yep.
use their program
And I'll-
within there, and the ambulance within there. Whatever they wanted to spend it on, whatever their needs were,
Yeah.
that's.
and I'll tell you one thing, those fire departments, I'm sure everyone, plus our department I'm on, we all greatly appreciated those funds, because we're we only get $5,000-6,000, from our tax base, so, I mean, it does make a big impact to your local people.
Can I read the statement?
Sure.
It can go into any appropriate account, including, but not limited to, county, LEPC, EMA, fire, sheriff, etc.
You can keep that, Dwight, if you want. I'll give you another copy.
I was unaware that this had, and I'm not sure that I know for a fact that this has to be spent before the end of the year, or we
No.
lose it.
Sounds to me like a Parks and Luau fund. That's what it sounds to me like.
Do you want a copy?
No, I don't
Okay.
need it.
Any more discussion? Marv, you made the motion.
Yes, I did.
How do you vote?
Aye.
Dwight,
Aye.
Wayne,
I'll vote no.
Merlin,
Aye.
and I'll vote no. Motion is carried to put it into the general fund.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, the second item that I need is, okay, we do these county mutual aid agreements. It's the counties, and this is basically a federal disaster requirement now. And so let's say if we had a disaster here, we've got an agreement with Oliver and Morton County, and they bring entities over to help us with whatever, like their public works or whatever, it covers everything in the county. Then, in a disaster, we get federal funds, well then also, they could get federal funds. Same with us going over there, and we'd be open up, even though nothing happened here, we're helping our neighbor in a disaster, we get federal funding. So Cass County, and they've requested our help when they've had major flooding, and that is why they're asking the commission to approve this mutual aid with the county of Cass County. So I'm gonna need you to make a motion, and I did email it to Jess, and she checked it over, and it's the same as all the other agreements that we've approved. And,
Did-
so I'm
Carmen?
requesting a motion to approve a mutual aid with Cass County.
Well, wait, we'll just wait.
For my inexperience, please help me out. Is this something that we've done in years past?
Yeah, and not even years past, like last year,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a new federal requirement for disasters to receive funding.
And is there what would be the cost associated to our county for this?
Because it's through the federal.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Okay.
We just have a mutual aid agreement that, hey, and we don't send help to other counties if we need it in our county.
Right.
So the
So
mutual aid, let's say there was a flood in Jamestown or whatever the case might be, we might send a truck or
They would request.
some
If they
need.
something, they make a request to the fire chief or the, you know, the sheriff or whoever's the head of that department and say, well, like the ambulance. And then say, can you, you know, we need ambulance, well, she'll maybe let one go if she can.
So it's not totally fair to say that it's at no cost to the county.
No, because the personnel, the travel, everything, that county pays them.
Hopefully.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the mutual aid agreement with Cass County.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any more discussion, questions?
Yeah, just a little bit, Mr. Chairman. Carmen, do you remember, I'm not sure, did we send some, like you said, ambulance over there or some
When
log?
Fargo had their flooding, I believe not only we sent deputies, we sent ambulance.
I think there's some boats and stuff
Yes,
or
the
something.
sheriff's office. had-
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So,
Any other discussion, questions? Hey, Merlin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Dwight?
What I'll do, Gwen, too, is I need you to sign both copies, because we keep an original and they do. And then when you're done, Gwen, I'll get to send that to Cass County. Okay. Keep it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
No, what's that? Why, you got an appointment? Yeah, you do.
Always.
With me to pick up your plate, please.
Yes, you're up next.
It's up to the chairman. No, it's up to this individual. He's signing some papers, so he's the chairman, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
oh no. This thing don't write checks, does it? Yeah. Well, that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Edie. You're up, Wayne. You're up.
Okay. Up next is Janet Sanford.
Yes. So you ready for us?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
bet.
All right. We need to get our, I'm not sure how to work it. Let's try that. We have a presentation that we can if possible. Nice. Good job. I'm Janet Sanford, and my team and I do the day-to-day operations for the load pass permit system, truck permitting system. This is Fred Bogart, he works with our system as well. So we're gonna give you a little background on our system and, tell you a little bit about it, answer any questions you might have, and see if it might be something that you think could be a fit for you in the future or at any point. So, go ahead, Brent.
So it is called Load Pass, and I always like to go over the history of this name. It used to be the North Dakota Association of Oil and Gas Producing Counties Overweight Overdimension Permit System. We changed the name to Load Pass to make it a little bit easier to say to people. That happened a couple of years ago. It is a uniform permitting system for those overweight, overdimension loads on county, township, and city roadways. This is primarily non-divisible loads, so not your gravel and those types of things, but non-divisible loads. We do have a couple of permits that work on divisible loads, and we'll get into those later in the presentation about the types of permits that we do offer. Right now, this is our permit counties, so the counties in the dark red have been on the system. Those, the oil producing region, have been on the system and were the originals. Emmons County actually joined back in 2015, and so that's why they're shaded red. They've been on the system for quite a while. The ones in the more pink are counties that have joined recently. The two, Richland and Sargent, down in the southeast, they just approved to go on the system and will be on the load pass system effective January 1 of this year. The yellow counties are counties that we've presented at who have asked for additional information. The town counties have asked for information, but we haven't been able to schedule a time to meet with them yet. And then the three white counties have basically said either not interested or have not followed up with any contact with us. I do like to point out Cass County is yellow. We have met with them. They actually do want to join our system. We're working through that process with them though, because Cass County has about a 30-page permit ordinance as a county. So their permit ordinance as a county is actually more detailed than the Century Code for state highway permitting. So we've got to work through that and what they might need to change there, but they are open to making those changes. It did start in the 80s by the oil and gas counties. Began as a non-uniform system, just a way for them to, hey, we need to communicate and make sure that industry going across county lines, we know what's happening. Then in the 90s, they got together and said, we need to make this uniform so that we're all doing the same thing. And so it makes it easier for enforcement, and it makes it easier for the industry to operate. They know what's expected across the different jurisdictions. Then in the beginning also it was a honor system. It was paper permits, so the trucks had the permits in their cab, they'd fill them out, mail them in. Janet's team would process those, send the invoice, get paid, and then distribute the money back to the counties. 2010, we started the electronic permit system, and for a while we ran both, so companies had that option. Whichever way they operated, they were able to do either the paper permit or the electronic permit. In 2015, we did get rid of the paper permits. We required all electronic permits. There was not really any pushback from industry on that. A few times people would call in on it, and I would like to tell the story. Janet's team would answer the phone, and they'd usually be like, is your grandson or son around? Yep. Showed them how to get on the computer, fill out the permit, and then it was never a problem again. Couple other enhancements was adding ACH payments. Some of the loads going across the roads, those permits get pretty expensive. We're talking $60,000, $75,000 for a single permit. And so a lot of people don't have that on their credit card to be able to pay that permit, so we set up ACH options. ACH is also, there is a financial benefit because you don't pay the merchant processing fee for the credit cards. So we like to really kind of encourage that a little bit. And then that's how payments go back to the county, is we do a direct deposit to the county for the permit activity in those individual counties. Mentioned about why, how it's expanded. Western Dakota Energy voted in 2016 to allow the permit system to be used across the state. There was actually some discussion during legislative session and with the Association of Counties saying, you know, you've got a robust system, can other counties use this? And we're like, yeah, it's not really, just because the oil industry is really the big user of it doesn't mean it doesn't fit in other counties. And so we wrote bylaws for the permit system. So the permit system has its own advisory committee with bylaws. Every county that is on the permit system has 2 seats on that advisory committee, either a county commissioner or designee, and the sheriff and or a designee, so that the users really drive the system. We operate it, Janet operates it. I do some of more of the political side of it, I guess you could say, and the business development side of it. But you as counties, the counties that are part of the system are the ones that actually make the decisions in regards to the fee structure and all that, and that's all through that advisory committee. Couple of other highlights in 2015, tied to 2016, was House Bill 1320 was passed, and that was a big bill in regards to the load pass permit system, specifically with townships. In that House Bill 1320 requires, if you're part of a permit system as a county, the townships in your county have to either utilize that permit system or not do any permitting. You can't have the county permitting one way and then townships doing their own thing. That's part of the definition of uniformity. Everyone's doing the same thing. The other thing that 1320 did, as it says, there's the 5-day signage waiver. This was a huge thing that, I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised that we didn't get more pushback on it when we got that through. In that, right now, if you put a restriction on a road or close a road, you have to sign that road before there can be any enforcement of that restriction. There has to be a sign up saying that that road is restricted. With the 5-day signage waiver, if you're part of the uniform permit system, we have a notification system that sends out notifications to the industry or whoever subscribed to it and says, this road is restricted. So you can do enforcement even if there's not a sign on that road. So it gives a little bit of grace period for you as a county when you put in those restrictions, that you don't have to get out there that minute and put a sign up. You know, you're looking at the geographic spread of your county. Trying to get out to all of your roads can be a challenge. So this was a huge thing for us. We have multiple cases where that has happened out in the oil patch, where they've sent out the restrictions, we've sent out the notifications, company goes on that road, tears up that road, the county fines them for doing that. The companies call up and they say, well, we're gonna you can't fine us this much, we're taking you to court over it. And then we get a phone call, and we have the audit log that shows multiple people in that company have received that notification prior to that truck going on that road. And in every case, the company then just said, oops, and it paid the fine. So that was a huge win for counties. I mean, not just the oil producing counties, but all counties in regards to that, and a benefit of being on the uniform permit system. We already talked about the rebranding. So some of the reasons for this system is that uniformity across county lines for the local governments and industry. Industry really likes this. A couple of the non-oil counties, the reason that they've come to us is because industries in their counties have said, gone to the counties and said, can you be part of this system? We know how it works. It makes it easier for them. It's a single point of contact, and it does make it a little bit easier on county staff because it's through our system. Janet's team handles all the support. So if a company's having a problem getting their permit, they're getting an error on the website or whatever, they call Janet's team. They're not calling county staff. So everything from the permitting goes through our system. You as a county still retain the local control of your roads. We just administer a permit system. We do not make the decisions on restrictions. We do not make the decisions on weight limits on your roads. That is all still up to you as a county. We have the increased revenue for road maintenance. That varies by county. We know that you guys do have an existing permit system here in Mercer County. Looking at the fee schedules, I think at the end of the day, it probably nets out. Your fee schedule is modeled after our old fee schedule. We've made some modifications to it, but your fee schedule is very much modeled after ours. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily an increase of revenue, but it's not going to decrease your revenue from a permitting standpoint. It does, again, reduce that traffic to your county staff because we're doing all of that administration and issuing of those permits and dealing with that. Helps to prepare for future projects. Again, a number of counties know they've got things coming in. Wind farms are a big one that have really kind of driven this. Those loads on wind farms are not light, and you'll see in a later slide what that means potentially for a county. If you were to join Load Pass, responsibility-wise, what we ask is that the county have someone designated to be the point of contact to review those permits.
Like I said, we just administer it, you still control your road, so you can approve those permits. And I'll let Janet talk about how the system is set up in regards to how much or how little interaction your staff would have to do with that.
Our system is set up so that it's customizable to how much you want to review these permits, at what level you want to start reviewing. We have it set up so that you can review all the permit requests that come in and approve everything. That's one option. We also have several tiered options. You can review anything that's heavier than 105,500 pounds and above. You can say, I want to review those and approve those. Or you can set that limit at 129,000 and above. So anything below that, below 129,000 in that case, would be auto-approved. Or anything over 150,000 and above, we do require you to take a look at those. We don't want to send those huge trucks over your roads, not knowing for sure that somebody's taken a look at that. And then, in addition to that, any road that is weight reduced, weight restricted, we do ask that you take a look at those and approve those. So you can kind of customize it to however you want to set it up that way.
So our roads, the majority of them are 80,000.
Okay.
We don't have to, we could use 80,000, we don't have to use the 105.
Right, you were in our system at one point, when I first took over the system, Mercer County was part of it. And the reason, from what I remember, that you stepped away from it and started your own was that 80,000. Our system started permitting at the 105.5 and above. Since then, we've added that 80,000 to 105.5 tier, so we now start permitting at the 80,000.
So with those tiers and the auto approvals, or if you want to review them all, you can reduce some of your staff time in how much interaction they have to do with the system. But there is, during business hours, we ask that there be someone as a point of contact that will review those permits on, within a couple of hours. Now, they get an email notice. It's not like they've got to sign in and check all the time. They get notifications. They'll get an email that, hey, there's a permit request, and that email actually has a link that they just click on and it takes them right to that permit for them to review. So it's very easy for the user and right there, but we try, our focus is, for the counties to have a good operating permit system, but also for us to be customer service focused to the industry, that we don't get a permit application and wait till tomorrow to approve it when it came in at 10:30 in the morning. We also ask, depending on the activity in your county, so this doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of work, but in after hours and weekend contact, especially out in the oil industry, they're running 24/7, so they designate someone after hours, and again, they get an email. If they've got their smartphone, they can look at it right there and take care of it. If you have most of your permits set to auto approve, they're probably never gonna see them on the weekends. There are some fees associated with the system. This is the money slide here for you. There's a $1,500 setup fee to get your road network put into our system, do the training of your staff, make sure that everything is established properly. After the first year, then it's based on the number of permits. And I went back, actually when I looked at your permit system, based on the traffic that you've had in the past, you would be in that lowest tier of the $500 a year. I believe last year, I think it was like 120 permits or something, if I did my math right. That was a couple of months ago that I did it, but it was pretty low. I want to tell you, because you were part of our system in the past, John Phillips is actually on the board. Jeff Simon here is the executive director of Western Dakota Energy. The executive committee has approved waiving that fee since you have been on the system in the past, so integrating you into Load Pass isn't quite the same as the others, so that initial setup fee would not be $1,500. We have the ability to work with you on that, but I just wanted to,
So what would it be?
we would it probably would be about a $500 fee so that we can get all your
Okay.
verify the GIS maps in road network. We poll for our road network map, we pull the map from, state DES, emergency services. So we pull that information and then we work with your road department to verify all of the data that we're getting is accurate. So there is some time involved in that. So we don't wanna pull in a map and then be like, oh, this road, according to where we got it, says it's 105.5 and it's actually still an 80,000 pound road. So we wanna verify all of that.
Do you know if you go through DES for your emergency services, for your road network, through your emergency management services?
Well, from personal experience, our system is not that great. I mean, if you use GPS, I'm way down in the southeast corner of the county. My address is 3740 11th Street Southwest. If a repairman or somebody puts that into their system, they end up on Highway 31.
Really?
So our system is not,
Well, one thing I'll tell you is, it will improve if you come on the system, because we have to have your system working, your road network corrected. So what we would do is identify those issues that you're seeing. We would ask your emergency management person to input those changes to DES. Then when we get our next update from DES, those changes
Yeah.
will be on there. And what we're seeing with all the counties that do work with DES for that road network, they're all getting straightened out, and there are always issues, but they're getting, straightened out and
Yeah.
rectified.
Sounds like basically a good check and balance. There's nothing worse in the world than you going down this drag and it's a dead-end section line, and how did this map, after all these years, still be at a flaw? And that's not, I mean, we all work with first responders and stuff, that's not good for anybody. And that we don't wanna promote
it's
neither,
definite.
so it's a good check and balance to get your system completely as accurate as all possible, I'd say.
Yep.
I agree.
It will improve, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, again, since you have a permit system, and you were on the system back, probably, I think it's probably been about 10, 12 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. A lot of your permits are similar to ours. We have that trip permit with the graduated fee schedule, a restricted road permit, $5 per ton per mile. And then the excess permit is for those loads over 150,000 pounds, is the $5 per ton per mile.
I believe yours starts at 200,000 and above, your $5 per ton per mile ours starts at 150. Ours used to be at the 200, and in the last 10 years or so, it's been changed to start at the 150.
We talked about non-divisible versus divisible. The wintertime and harvest permits are the two permits that are for those divisible loads, obviously hauling crops off the field and stuff like that 10% over. Those are modeled after the state's harvest and wintertime permit. We had a number of counties come to us, farmers saying, I can get this permit from the state, but my farm starts on the county road, and then I get to the state road to haul into town, but I can't, doesn't make sense, so we implemented that 10%. You know, it just made sense to do that. Annual overweight, the frost lot permit, I'm just gonna say, that's a Williams County permit. It's available for all counties, and that was something the oil industry came to Williams County about 6 years ago saying, we need to do something because during frost restrictions, when you're restricted down to 6 ton, our hot oil trucks are 7-ton trucks. We can't even move that. So can we do something? And so they came up with this permit, and counties can opt to offer it or not, of $1,000 per truck during the frost law season. So it can get quite spendy for industry, but they're like, if we can't move these, we can't operate at all. So they were willing to, so use that as an example of industry will come to us and ask us for something. We bring that back to the advisory committee. The advisory committee, your constituents say, hey, we need something. And that's why it's a member-driven type of thing to figure out how do we make this work for everyone. This is our current fee schedule. It is a little different, like I said, than what yours are. Some of the tiers are different, but we do have highlighted there that 80,000 to 105.5 is where we do start. I believe yours is at $30 and ours is at 20. So there's that little bit of a cost differential, but then we start at the 150 versus the 200. So, you know, could probably, at the end of the day, I would say it probably nets out the same for the county. All counties we're seeing the cranes and the earth moving equipment permits are, that's, for the non-oil counties specifically, that's probably the biggest permits that we're seeing is in that area. We do have those restricted road permits and the excess permits. You don't have a lot of activity, but technically you are an oil producing county, so there isn't a drilling rig move permit. So if a drilling rig were to move into the county, they have to get that permit. That was something that was created so that the county's aware of where the industry's moving to.
Right.
So that, any changes that might need to be made, if you need to do some improvements ahead of time, or work with them on routing, how they're gonna get traffic around there. Maybe they need to, you work with the company and say, can you go 2 miles around this way, because that's a single township road, there's 2 people that live on it, if all of your traffic goes on there, those guys are never getting out. So
Right.
that's why that drilling rig permit exists.
Yeah, that's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Yeah. This is just our permit volume. You can see it kind of trends with oil pricing. 2014, 13, busy, then we had the price drop in 15, so that hit us down, but we're back up to over 106, almost 110,000 permits last year. Our fiscal year for the permit system actually follows the state fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th, so we're into our new fiscal year. This is the slide, and I'm gonna walk over here to the TV, because you asked about the blue and the green lines, that's Williams and McKenzie County, and obviously with the oil activity, they're gonna be way up there in regards to the revenue and stuff. But this line here, in this spike, that's Stark County. Now, Stark County is technically an oil county, but there's no Bakken activity in Stark County. That spike is when the wind farm went into southern Stark County. So that's, with all of that wind farm activity, they spiked up going from about $180,000 in permit revenue to over $1 million in permit revenue. And I always like to Janet, when those permits started coming through and the bills, Janet's like, this company's gonna freak out. She was ready to think they're gonna have a fight from the wind farm company of how much they're having to pay. It's a cost of doing business. They understand that. Even the oil and gas industry, everyone complains about cost, just like they complain about taxes, but they know it's a cost of doing business and getting it done. So we talked a little bit already about the notification, the 5-day waiver for the signage. Our notification system is what allows us to do that. And I have told other counties, to me, this is worth the price of admission right here, this notification system. Because it sends it out on email and text messages, industry subscribes to it, it's free for them to subscribe. We have over 13,000 people that can get these notices. Now, if I'm an industry person, when I subscribe to this system, I choose which county I want notifications for. So if I'm here in Mercer County and I don't deal with the oil field stuff, I don't have to get McKenzie and Williams and Dunn County notifications. Now, I might want Dunn County since it's a neighboring county, but I could care less about McKenzie and Williams and Montreal. So they can choose, so they're not getting overwhelmed. But this is where we send out those notifications. We also can use it sparingly. We'll use it as as kind of like a communication system. A couple of the oil counties have industry meetings where they'll do a meeting a year with the industry to talk about what the county's planning on roads, where's the industry moving, those types of things. And so we can send out a notification saying, hey, reminder, there's a meeting at the Williams County shop on December 19th, blah, blah, blah. And so we can send that out through there. But this notification system is what allowed us to get that signage waiver. Townships, we have sample agreements. I talked about the House Bill 1320 in regards to the townships need to either be part of the system or they don't permit. So it's uniform. We have sample agreements from other counties that you can use to work with your townships. I know you've got organized townships here, so we wanna make sure to work with them. For a lot of the townships at first, they're kind of hesitant.
Yeah, we don't have townships.
You don't have townships?
No,
Oh,
no.
sweet.
Yeah, Yeah,
I
we're,
can skip this whole thing.
yes.
Dunn
You are-
County and you, there's a very,
Yep.
you know, I always forget where the line is where,
Right.
because as you start getting east, they all got townships. Thanks for saving me a lot of time there and,
Yeah.
stuff. We have made some major enhancements. We have a routable roadmap with, that's on our website. They go out, they can see all of the restrictions, and we have an image of that in the next slide of what that looks like, so industry can see. It's not just text, it's actually a map visual of that. Phase 2 was actually the restrictions and the routability, that now a company can just click on the map and say, this is where I'm starting, this is where I'm going, and it will draw the route for them and calculate the permit. And then they can make adjustments, and that, again, even from the county administrative standpoint, you'll see that route if you're reviewing that permit, and then you can take that and you can drag that route and say, no, I need you to go on this road instead.
Sure.
So this is, it's not, obviously, smaller screen, kind of hard to see, but you can see how there's different colors on the map. Those are the different restrictions. Our map has all of the bridge information. We're working on that. That's a project right now I'll let Janet talk about on the bridges, because every county's got bridges that are issues.
We have the basic bridge information in our system right now, but we're increasing that to very specific bridge information for the counties that want us to, so that anybody who wants to know anything about that bridge, they can just click on it, there's the information. In addition, we're going to be adding automation, so that if a vehicle is too large, a load is too large to go over that bridge, it will not be routed over that bridge.
We'll
So
take them around
we
there.
have the baseline now, we're going to be improving that and adding automation for the counties that want to use that.
Good.
Well, the last thing we want to touch on is just our enhancements. We continue to enhance this system to make it more user-friendly on both sides. One piece that we're starting development on is a law enforcement app. Permitting is just like speed limits. It's only as good as the enforcement you do. And so we want to make a system very easy for your deputies out there that they can pull up either on their computer that they have in their vehicle or on a smartphone or whatever. They can look up that truck to see, does he have a valid permit? And what we're doing, and this is actually requested from the industry, is that app will basically have three buttons on it, a green, yellow, and red. If he had a valid permit, it's a green button. We want reporting back, because what the industries have asked us is, please tell us which companies are getting permits and which companies aren't. Because we want to work with the companies that are following the rules. I use the example of Hess, big operation, they get lit up about tearing up the roads. Well, Hess doesn't own any trucks. They produce the oil, they own the oil well, but they're contracting out to companies to haul. They want to know what companies are following the rules and which ones aren't, so that they can quit doing business with the ones that aren't. So we want to track that, but it's also going to be a thing for law enforcement from the regards that they will get reports to say, hey, guess what? Jack and Jill's Trucking, every time they've pulled over in Dunn County, they never have a permit. Well, you think that your sheriff might want to know that maybe they need to be checking Jack and Jill's trucks then for permits? So it kind of is a checking process there. Administration app, we talked about the after hours and stuff, just making it quick and easy on their phone that they can get that push notification that, hey, there's a permit. And then the end user app, this is for the truckers and the industry, where they can just on their phone pull up the permit. And then we're looking at potentially, this is a large scale thing within GIS, but getting navigation, just like Google Maps tells you to turn left in half a mile. We're looking at, can we add that through our map? Because to your point with the GPS not being accurate, our map has it down to the township road level. And one of the things that I like about our system and knowing that it's robust, every road that we have can have, is it five names. So like right now, you've got County Road 7, but it's also 131st Street, but it also might be known as Coal Creek Station Road or whatever. And so we can add all of those names to those roads, so when people are searching for a road or an address, they find it on there. So, any questions for us?
Let me jump in, I just wanna add one little thing. Our permit system is paid for by a $6 fee on each permit. That's what has always paid for our permit system through the years. However, a couple of years ago, the counties came forward and said, we would like this GIS project, this routable road map, to add to our system, to make it a better system. We would like to pay for that, rather than increasing the $6 and having the user continue to pay for the system. The counties asked us to hold back some of their fees. So right now, 1.5% of your permit fees are being held back for that GIS system. But the good thing about that is the counties that sell the thousands of permits per month are basically paying for it. And, you know, everybody pays a little bit, but.
We didn't hear that, that's okay though.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're putting a lot of money into that, but they're also benefiting from
Sure,
it the
sure.
most as well. So I just wanted to clarify that so you know where the funds
Yeah.
come from for the system.
And some of that was driven because actually, was it the 15 interim, Jeff? When we were at that committee meeting, and State Highway Patrol came to the interim Transportation Committee and said, we think we can take over all of the county road permitting in the state. And it was like, we're sitting there and I was like, yeah, I don't think the counties are really gonna go for the state taking over you guys permitting onto their roads and stuff. So that was kind of the genesis of, we need to step up our game a little bit in what we're doing for permitting in the map and stuff, because Highway Patrol does have a routable system. Our price tag was a lot cheaper. Actually, a couple of the committee members asked me afterwards and said, so how much have you spent on your permit system? It was less than 10% of what State Highway Patrol thought it would cost them to do the county permit system. So that didn't go very far, but that was kind of a genesis of, we need to step up and with what we're offering. So, any other questions for us?
So, just kind of one briefly, does the county then have to have a weights and measure official and scales and this type? I mean, if you find an
From an enforcement standpoint?
yeah, you find an overloaded rig, how do we do that then?
Yeah, there's,
I mean,
I'll be honest, I don't know all of what's necessary. I mean, some of it, if they don't have a permit, it's pretty easy to tell that they're overweight.
Yeah.
You know, or, on a lot of those. I would talk to some of the other counties. What we've heard some of, especially the non-oil counties are talking, is that they do kind of a they're looking at like joint enforcement, where maybe you have an agreement with Dunn County, because I think they have 2 or 3 sets of scales that they
yeah.
share those with you every once in a while, or do some joint enforcement.
And we do have a set of scales, it's just,
Our enforcement is another issue.
it might be a little bit of an issue.
What
and
do you currently do? Just
Well,
as
we-
much as you possibly can.
The sheriff puts on an extra person a couple months out of the year, and
Okay.
that's all we have.
Yeah. And
And-
we don't require any of that, that's
Right.
entirely up to you.
How we do
Enforcement is
that
Yep.
then.
entirely
Okay.
up to you.
Okay,
Right.
that answers that, yeah, thanks.
Where are you headquartered at?
We all actually work out of our own home offices, so we have people all over the place, but I'm in Bismarck. I'm from Watford City, but I'm in Bismarck right now.
We're all of us are in Bismarck. And,
Western Dakota Energy Association has an office, Jeff's office is in Bismarck.
I know John's in Beulah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My office is in the Association of Counties building.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question, on the permits that we, let's say we tier this and we decide we don't need to get involved with the permits under a certain level, how does we get notified of all the permits that come through our county?
You get a monthly report from the system along with the check, you know, the funds deposited, and then there's a report that you can pull up, and whoever's in charge of the system here, they could actually print out that report monthly and put it in the commission packet so you can see the activity, and it will show you the companies, the dollar amounts, dates, that type of stuff.
This wouldn't work for gravel and sand though, right?
It does not.
Just the wintertime permit would, that does work for gravel and sand. But otherwise, it is non-divisible lots. Any other
Well,
questions?
They have to get a permit in the county to haul gravel or sand, why wouldn't,
Do they currently get a permit from you guys?
to haul gravel or sand,
All
yeah?
gravel? Is it an overweight permit?
Not necessarily overweight, but a permit to haul.
Then that can continue to happen through you. If you require a permit to haul, that can continue to happen. If it's an overweight permit, that's what would come through us. So otherwise, permits to haul, if you require a permit through your county, you can continue.
Well, I guess I should make that clear, they have a permit to operate the gravel pit, and that's part of it.
And that would continue to
what-
go through you.
And what we
that's part of
see-
the hauling.
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
we see with that, when they have a gravel pit, like I'll use Ward County for an example, their engineers very on top of this stuff, is he then, when there's a new, say a new gravel pit's gonna open, they're gonna start hauling out of there or whatever, they come to get a permit to operate that pit, is he'll put together a haul road agreement with that company and says, you know, you don't have to have a permit for all your trucks because it's your weight, but based on the traffic you're doing, here's our haul road agreement. So,
Yeah.
we see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Road passes for individual trips, basically. Move it up, backhoe or something like that.
Anything else?
So even if at the same gravel pit, if they were hauling in heavy equipment, they would still have
They
to.
have to have a permit for that,
Yep.
yeah, keep that in mind.
Yep.
Yeah, they'd probably be overloaded.
Yeah, if they're overweight
Yeah,
or.
which-
Especially that big
or
equipment,
overland.
that's all.
Which nowadays, there's not
overdimensioned.
much equipment that is
Isn't
gonna be
overland.
over our 80,000
Yeah,
pound limit on our county roads.
Right.
yeah. So,
If you should decide this is something that you might be interested in, I'll leave this packet. And
Cool.
that's the information we would start with, gathering. You can let us know if you have any other questions once you talk about this a little bit, and we'd be happy to answer any of those for you.
And just from a timing standpoint, if you were to choose to join the system, we brought counties on as quick as 30 days. Most counties want a little bit more time, and we'd prefer a little bit more time, honestly. It's doable, but, like Richland and Sargent counties, they decided back in September, and they chose January 1 as a start date. At this time of year, we were actually just at another county yesterday, and they're interested in joining. They said they would probably wait until after the frost season next, probably come live in May or June 1 of next year. So
But
we're flexible on the timing of that.
If, since you don't have organized townships, that is one of the things that takes the longest to get
Sure.
the townships on
Right.
board, so
Right.
it would expedite your
Okay,
setup.
what would be our initial cost?
Like I said, it's normally at 15, but we probably,
Yeah.
the board has said that we can reduce that, so we'd probably be at that $500 to join for the first year.
Okay, and is there a fee, an annual fee?
Yeah, and then that annual fee is based off of the,
Number of permits.
number of permits,
permits.
which based on your volume, you'd be at $500 a year. Unless something really moves in, but then you're generating that revenue, so.
Right, right.
Well, we need to get Ken in here, talk to him about what things he didn't like about it, or what the other reason was, other than not having that 80,000 pound category. Now, frost laws, we're down to 65,000 pounds.
Do you have a copy of your slides that you could send us, email them to us?
Yep. Sure can.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Yep,
and
thanks for the
Thanks
time.
so much.
Yep, thank you very much.
I'll just give you my email address on,
Okay, okay.
I don't have a business card, they're out in the car, it does a lot of
Well,
good,
you
doesn't
have,
it?
you have a sticky note.
I'm gonna use that
And
too.
a pen.
Plus, if you have a restricted road, you don't have to watch that damn thing, it goes out on the.
Do you have mine, Jeff, or don't you? Email.
What? Yeah, yeah, I think I do.
You do, don't you?
I think I do, yeah. I got Mark too, but I don't got Mark.
Yeah. Whoops. And you got this brand new little sticky pad. Thank you much.
Perfect, thank you. I will
Okay.
send that to you.
And I'll just make some copies and distribute them.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Lazy card.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, moving on,
See you, John.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Get the,
thanks for coming.
December 18th meeting on here,
Jeff?
other business?
Yeah, I was contacted by Blake Weidrich from the museum last week, and he wanted to know if you wanted to have the meeting at the museum, like we do each year.
Well, my opinion was it was always a good thing.
Agreed.
Works for me, I mean.
Works for me.
If, Dwight?
Don't mind, no matter to me.
Okay, we'll do it then.
So,
Marlon?
You awake?
Yeah, do we need a motion for that?
Shouldn't.
Okay.
Well, we could put that in a
Change the
motion, it
meeting-
is a
Change
meeting.
the meeting location.
It's gonna
Yeah.
take a, it's
Because
gonna
that
take a
way-
notification in the paper too, right? Change the meeting place,
I'll put on the website.
okay?
I move we have our December 18th meeting at the Mercer County Museum in Beulah.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Any more discussion? Marlon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Dwight,
Hi.
Wayne?
how about I?
I vote aye, motion is carried. Update from AVI.
Yes, they were in here on Monday, and hopefully this system works, but it is very important that everybody speaks into their microphone. That's one of the big things about it. They set the gain up on the microphones,
Seemed like.
but we need to talk into the microphones. Now, I don't know how you wanna do with the people in the audience, if they need to sit down and talk into the microphone, or if we need to get some portable mics or what, but it's very important that everybody speaks into the microphone. And I talked to Matt, he is going to get with the salesman that sold us this system and present us with a cost or ideas on how we can make these commission meetings so a commissioner can attend a meeting remotely through Skype or whatever system works. So that's coming.
I have a little more discussion on, I was gonna have AVI added to it, but Dwight already did. Last time we said we were going to have them come in and do it, we would decide later where to charge this to. And I would like to have this charged to our building maintenance fund, we have monies in there. And I want the cost for this maintenance to be charged to our building and grounds fund 41610-441, which is building maintenance.
Is that,
Presently, we have $68,928 in there as of 12/1. I'm not sure what the fee will be for their work, but
well, there should be money that's budgeted for this.
it's in building maintenance is budgeted.
Well, I mean, in Jim Albert's fund, there should be money in our building and grounds fund to cover this.
This is building and grounds.
Well, that's not part of Jim Albert's budget, that money there.
So you're saying you'd rather charge it to someplace else? Do you have a
Well,
list?
he should have money in his budget for this.
Are you sure that ain't building and ground? Or what?
That's what you're talking about,
Aren't you,
right?
That would be Jim's.
yeah.
I think it
Marv,
is.
don't you have buildings and ground?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Here, pass that down.
That's in Jim Albert's,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was.
That'll be,
I just went to building maintenance.
right. Yeah, it's gotta be under his umbrella, yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Well, that's fine if it is, but that's where I feel it should come from, because during budget time, we heard things come up. Well, this is one of the things that come up.
Well, has there been a bill yet?
No, but they will send us one.
They'll send us
But when the auditor gets a bill, they wanna know
What
which
account?
account to
one.
present it to, and then it comes to the commissioners to approve or whatever, correct?
Yeah, there was, they said you're past the warranty. We were never informed that there was an issue with this system.
Oh, really?
To me, it's a building maintenance issue, so that's why I suggested that.
Anything else under AVI?
No.
I'll move on to portfolio updates. Dwight?
Well, it's first of the month. My meetings are all coming up. Should be a fair board meeting next week, and the water board meeting will be next week also.
Wayne?
Yeah, it's first in a month here too. I have nothing to report at the time, so.
Merlin?
Yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff. We did have a library board meeting about a week or so ago, and things seem to be going okay there. We do have a place now for our bookmobile to be inside, and there's some repairs that are gonna be done on that thing, because I guess going in and out of one of these parking lots or something, it banged up the undercarriage or something, so we've instructed those guys not to take that route anymore. Probably be a good idea. And the libraries all seem to be functioning well within the county. As far as what we were just talking about with some of the building and grounds money, I was visiting with Jim a little bit, and he and I are wondering now, we come to the end of the year and we have money left in that budget area, if it can be put someplace else, like a contingency fee or something like that, because he said when we were working on this courthouse expansion, of course, that's before my time, that in the old part of the courthouse, there was some issues with heating and some other types of things, and that was never worked on. And I was wondering if we could put that money into a little contingency fund or something like that for making those repairs and things like that. I know Jim was in here earlier, I was gonna have him address that with you a little clearer, but anyway, he asked if it might be possible to carry this over and have it for that specific purpose, and I'm not quite sure on what you've done in the past with those type of things, or if it all just dumps in the general fund, and as issues come up, then the money's allocated.
Well, I know that this could be kind of tough because the furnace system is, again, on this rooftop unit is an old system, and if probably, if there's some way that this can be ear tagged for the replacement of that system, because it's 20 years old or better, or right in that area. That would be a nice way to go about it, that you, all of a sudden you got a budget year and now we have no money and our furnace died, now what? I mean, this is what happens. But I'm not,
Well, the only way I'd be in favor of it is if it's specifically designated for the building and maintenance fund.
well, yeah, I mean, that's, so we don't have to go dig and scratch when it goes down to figure out how to replace this, because we know this unit is quite old.
Yeah, well, there's no place to dig and scratch.
No, we've seen that, yeah.
I think we've discussed some of the contingency funds and things before, haven't we, Marv, with,
The suggestion's been brought up to do that, and we can have more money in reserves than we do now. In fact, it's recommended that we have about 75% of our budgeting amount of money in reserves in case we run into problems with achieving revenue. And I was down at the state tax commissioner's office yesterday, and the general fund can actually have more than 75% of its budget amount in reserves. And their logic is that if we have a shortfall on taxes, we should have enough for 9 months to cover our operating expenses, and the general fund has to pick up any shortfalls of the special fund. That's just the way it works. So yes, we can have money in reserves to a certain amount to cover our operating expenses and unforeseen expenses, especially if we have a really harsh winter. Earmarking this as specifically for a contingency fund, I guess, in my opinion, I would oppose that. We have a budget already set for next year. These expenses that they're looking at need to be brought forward and presented. Now, at the end of the year, if we have some monies left over and they approach the commission, in my opinion, they approach the commission, and maybe we can amend the budget that we have for next year to include this if they're going to do some work. But at this point, as part of the general fund, on any monies left over in this account as I see it. I'd like to follow our budget process. All of a sudden, we got extra money. Well, let's run over here and do this and run over there and do that. We have a budget process, and if we have some monies, we can build up our reserves, which we just took monies out of.
I
Well,
think the
Marv-
budget is set for next
Yeah.
year, you can't.
We're not just.
You can amend a budget, Dwayne.
Yeah, we're not just running over, it's just, Marv, we're looking towards the future a little bit, so that, we don't have to, try to dig out of nothing to pay it, you know.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And it's earmarked, as Dwight says, that's what it's used for, and that's all it can be used for.
But we have been running, our budget every year's been running short.
Short.
I mean, our general, we're $300,000-400,000 in the hole at the end of the year. I mean, that's gotta be taken care of first before we can start taking money out of the general fund for a specific project. First, we gotta get on the plus side, because that money is, where are you gonna take it from?
Yeah, we're using 20 money in 19 years.
Yeah.
You said it correctly, buddy. So,
Yeah.
that's my take on it. It goes, if we have extra monies left in these individual accounts, that goes back to the general fund where it came from.
Anything else, Merlin?
It's something that we need to look at, but first we need to end the year on the plus side.
That's all I have.
Marv?
No, I don't have too much. I just want to add, and I want it part of the record. I did contact the sheriff, and I have 2 days ago asking for a meeting to review the finances for the year. And my suggestion to him was that we review what works and what didn't work so well, what he would like to see done better, just a general conversation. And I haven't received a response. I will pursue this and hopefully get a meeting soon. That's all I have. I do have some requests later before you close the meeting. I want some requests for our auditor I want to bring up.
Well, that has to be done during the meeting.
I know I said before you adjourn, we're doing portfolios now, and she's not in my portfolio. So before you close the meeting, I want to bring up a couple things.
Well, there's a emergency planning meeting tomorrow at 11:45 at the Wellness Center in Beulah tomorrow. I'm not able to attend. My wife's having surgery tomorrow. Landfill is going okay.
Do you want somebody to attend in your place?
No, not necessarily. I guess if somebody wants to go, they serve lunch there at noon. Anybody, but,
Going on the end town.
so,
Fingers at you, Merlin.
You going for lunch tomorrow?
Lutefisk?
Well,
no,
I think,
no, not Lutefisk. They don't.
I know that's what they'll have.
First responders, they eat that, not in public.
At the wellness center, you say?
Yes,
And what time's that start?
11:45.
You'll be there.
Okay, I'll go.
Good man,
if you want to
thanks.
go. We had an ambulance board meeting. The main topic again was a lot of discussion on ways of attracting volunteers and employees. The numbers are dwindling. And then the landfill is going okay, I guess. They had a little problems with the garage door on the shop. And that's about it. So if there's nothing else,
No, I just one thing I'd like to ask Gwen for. 3 things. I asked Shanna for a copy of our bond payment agreement, and she gave me a copy of the resolution to get the bond, but not the bond agreement itself. The bond agreement will tell us what the principal is, what the interest payment is, and if there's any additional fees. And part of the reason I asked that question is, there's some difference, there's a $400 difference in how much we're paying and what the principal and interest is. And I asked Shannon what that was, and she wasn't aware of what that was. She said, some kind of fee. So I want a copy of the bond payment agreement. And we should have that. The other is I would like to have a current copy of the trial balance to date. You gave me an expense report, not the trial balance. And also, I'd like a copy of all transfers to date. There's a transfer table that she has. And I'd like to have a copy of that too, please. That's it.
I can get the last two, the first one, I don't know where it's at.
I understand
Wait
that.
Until she comes back.
I'd rather not wait a whole month, but I understand that you know the first two. If you figure out a way to find it, fine. If not, well, I'll work on it. I'd like to have it before the end of the year. This shouldn't take, I mean, it should have actually been recorded in the recorder's office.
This mention of that
I know she's talked to
seminar,
Jess about it, but I don't know all the details.
Exactly.
That's all I know.
Yeah, understand. And the resolution itself is supposed to be recorded over there, and they're checking to see if they have a copy. So I'm just following up on what I got.
well, if there's nothing else, well, the meeting is adjourned.